My name's Gavin and I'm 27 years old, originally from South Africa, and for the last 5 or so years have been, traveling quite a lot, living in different countries like Zanzibar and Vietnam, and now I'm in Berlin. And I've been very fortunate to be able to experience lots of different cultures and different perspectives throughout my life. And that kind of brings me to what I'm doing now, which is human resources. Always been very curious about the human aspect of things, how I can help people find perhaps the job that they like, and obviously create symbiotic relationships between companies and people would be at least a dream of mine. So yeah, find myself now in Berlin, and yeah, so far so good.
Thank you, Gavin. And I was talking to you earlier and you mentioned about equal opportunities to help people find work. Could you tell me a bit more about that?
I suppose specifically coming from where I come from, where there often hasn't been a lot of equality and opportunities, particularly from an educational standpoint, from a very ground level, just primary education. And I think something that I'm quite passionate about is that people are able to have an opportunity, or an equal opportunity, to be able to have access to good quality education, and as a result be able to have a good opportunity and equal opportunity to be able to find a job, to be able to support themselves and hopefully support their families too. When I think of public value, I mean, the first few things that come into mind are definitely perhaps a dialogue where people are able to express themselves and share their opinions in such a way that they feel comfortable within the places that they live. For my personal well-being, there are probably like three main aspects that I would define it by. The first and probably the most important one for me is mental health, for sure. Then my physical well-being, which is something that I'm really passionate about. And then finally, having an environment where I have the freedom to be who I want to be. In order to be able to achieve something like this, it's important to understand who I am. And I think I've spent a lot of time being able to self-reflect, and this kind of gains a better perspective on what defines you and what your values are. I think I'll probably make reference to South Africa because that's where I grew up. And I suppose that's always going to be home for me. For my community's well-being, I think there should be a greater sense of compassion and gratitude, and definitely a stronger sense of collectiveness as opposed to a sense of individualism. I mean, everyone in my community at home sort of stays within their walls, and no one really kind of speaks to each other. So it's like this kind of weird thing where coming from Africa, I mean, everyone's very, you just chat to anyone on the street, you want to welcome people into your home, there's the sense of collectiveness within the country. So I think within my community at home, it would be nice to see people more willing to love thy neighbor, I suppose. Better education, better access, I think, to specifically quality education. And I think this is where the government definitely needs to place more of its resources to the less privileged communities and support those. And then, more action from the government. I think definitely less corruption and less discrimination, I reckon, would definitely be a good place to start for the country's well-being. I mean, obviously, it's got a very dark history. As a result of that, I think people haven't been afforded the same kinds of opportunities throughout. And although South Africa is now considered a democracy, there are still people who are really having a hard time just to make ends meet on a daily basis. I think there could be more community initiatives to really be able to give back to those communities, but not only from like perhaps providing with basic essentials such as food, water, sanitation, electricity, etc. I think also just being able to give back in such a way that people are able to learn and develop themselves and be able to pursue their dreams and aspirations, because everyone in Africa has a dream. Everyone in Africa has an aspiration or perhaps something they want to do or something or someone they want to be. But often, these opportunities are just almost completely out of reach. So I think, if those could be brought more in reach in the future, it would be amazing to see. I think a lot of places in less privileged communities and communities that perhaps are living below the poverty line, I feel that just basic access to food, water, education, electricity, and just having those most basic of needs met would definitely contribute to the overall well-being of the world. It's also one of those situations where instead of people being able to focus on pursuing something that they're passionate about, they're having to worry about getting water or getting food, just things that shouldn't bring you anxiety on a daily basis. And I think that in a lot of cases, particularly perhaps in South Africa, can hold people back from their true potential. I think for people to have or gain or at least try to gain a better perspective, especially for those around them, especially in places with more diverse cultures. I think people to put aside differences, and I think definitely to perhaps try to understand that through embracing diversity and different communities and different cultures, countries and communities and individuals are I think, thus able to thrive. When kind of living in the times that we are living in now with COVID-19, I think if something like this comes around again, where it has it affects people of all ages, I think that could be a really scary situation, because it's almost like this invisible enemy that you just don't know where it is, you can't see it. But I think, a worst case scenario would be to see South Africa kind of go down again, which I think now after COVID-19, it's going to be a real challenge for the country to be able to really pick itself up again, especially from an economic standpoint. So but I mean, on a global scale, maybe like an alien invasion would also not be very nice, if that would ever happen. I suppose a very idealistic future scenario would be one where people are living in absolute harmony. People are all accepting of each other. People have the freedom to express themselves. People are able to live peacefully, not having anxiety over when their next meal will come. And for me, that would be an amazing world to live in. I think, and one where people, look out for each other and love each other unconditionally would be amazing. I'm a strong believer in just, if you're positive and you send positive energy to other people, I feel that you can make an impact. If you do become more accepting and change your mindset, I feel that you can really fall in love with wherever you are staying.
What do you think is the role of civil society?
I think the role of civil society is to ensure that feelings, opinions, ideas, concerns are brought forward to the powers that be, to ensure a sort of a constructive dialogue that promotes action from private sector or governments is done. I suppose that would be my answer to that.
What do you think is the role of youth in shaping the future?
I think the role of the youth is definitely to do a better job than what our parents are doing. And I don't mean to say that our parents aren't doing a good job, but I just think that we should always look towards the future and come up with really viable solutions to problems that are often left unsolved.
Do you feel listened to by older generations?
I'm going to refer to my own circle, I suppose, of people that I know. And I very much say it's kind of 50-50. Some individuals, they love to hear about what younger people have to say, what their opinions are, and how they view the world. Whereas on the other hand, there are also individuals who are perhaps not willing to have their opinions or views challenged in a constructive manner.
And what do you expect from older generations?
I don't expect anything. Ideally, I just like for them to, live in peace and enjoy their lives in a way that makes them feel happy and makes them feel fulfilled. I don't expect anything from older generations.